There we go. We are live. Alrighty. Welcome everyone to Translation Seattle Trans Film Festival. This is the 18th. No, is it 18th or 19th? Someone will tell me shortly. But they've been doing it for 18 years, that much I know. It is the 18th. There we go. Someone told me. And I am so excited to be hosting Tea Time again. We have some special guests, so we will hop into it in just a moment. But what I wanted to do is we wanted to start this event with acknowledging that the Seattle Trans Film Festival and $3 Bill Cinema operate on the unceded ancestral lands of the Duwamish, Suquamish, Tulalip, Muckleshoot, Stillaguamish, and Coast Salish people. I am calling in from ancestral lands of the Muskogee. Now, I believe and we believe that it is important for us to know that the Duwamish people are still here, as well as people from indigenous territories across Turtle Island, aka North America. Support the Duwamish tribe directly by paying real rent via realrentduwamish.org. And you can also find out whose land you're on by visiting native-land.ca. Another thing you can also do is you can contribute to a number of land back initiatives that support people unrecognized or unsupported by the US federal government, or organizations that seek to aid displaced communities who identify as or are at the intersection of Black, Brown, Indigenous, queer, and trans communities. All right, and you can see at the bottom that we're scrolling where you can go to check out this. I just did it right before we went on to remind myself that we are on Muskogee lands. I am so excited to be back this year hosting Tea Time with the Duchess, c'est moi. And I'm Ava Davis, a filmmaker, a transgender female filmmaker, and I am wearing a quite colorful costume. I tickle myself. I've got on, I guess it's kind of a blondish, whitish wig, and I've got a feather in my cap, my wig, whatever you want to call it, and a tiara, and some jewelries, and a 17th, 18th century, 19th century, one of those get up. It is cream colored, and I have bejeweled it myself. So, yes. All righty. So, one thing I want to do is I want to go ahead and bring on our guests. And we have today Anto Estudillo and Max Disgrace. So, I'm going to read this intro for Max that Max was so kind to send me. Max Disgrace is an award-winning film director, a film programmer, and a trans man of Chinese descent living in London. He's a director alum of the British Film Institute Network and BAFTA Crew 2020-2021, Umbrella Nale Talents 2020, and his works has been screened at the BFI, Tate Modern, the Barbican, and at film festivals internationally. Max's new short film, Dismantle Me, is a dark comedy romance by trans people of color, associate produced by Lily Wachowski. She was a guest, I believe, last year. Yes. On this film, he worked with the majority trans and non-binary cast and crew in collaboration with international filmmaker directory Trans Plus On Screen. Max's body of work has focused on the politics of queer sexual intimacies between marginalized bodies. Dismantle Me builds on this, focusing on nuanced experiences of romantic pleasure and desire between trans characters in narrative fiction. Oh my God, sounds so interesting. Max also desires to make work about the current crises facing trans people in the UK. His previous short film, Ruptured, premiered on underground film platform 4-3 Boiler Room, for which he was awarded the Wahala Film Fund grant for queer, transgender, and intersex people of color filmmakers. It is going to scroll up in just a bit, so bear with me. It's going very slowly, but here we are. Last year, Max also collaborated with Trans Plus On Screen when he organized a trans film pitch event with BFI Flair, where 15 trans and non-binary filmmakers were selected from an open call to pitch their film to an audience of industry professionals. And now, getting into it, I banged myself. His new film, Dismantle Me, is a comical proposition which turns into an arousing power play when a smoldering hot trans woman helps a heartbroken trans man tidy his messy bedroom. Sounds like somebody's been a naughty boy. And also joining me, and someone who did not send a biography or anything, is Anta Astudillo. So I'm going to have you introduce yourself because I've got nothing on the teleprompter for you. I'm so sorry. I really should have thought about this. But what I do know is that you are the lead programmer for translations. And no, I'm not reading that right below your name. I promise you.
Thank you. Yes. I'm Anto Studillo. My pronouns are they, them. And yeah, I'm this year's lead programmer. It's my first year in translations. I'm super excited to be here. I'm also a filmmaker, a programmer, and performance artist from Chile. I'm based in the US, currently in the Napihoking, Brooklyn, New York. Um, and yeah, super excited to be here, to be part of this festival, and to join this amazing show with you, Ava. Thank you for the invitation.
You are way too kind. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you for joining me. And Max, thank you as well for joining me. Now, I believe that you are 6 hours ahead of Eastern Standard Time, which makes you 9 hours ahead of Pacific, if I'm correct.
I think 8 hours ahead of
Eight.
Pacific.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you're in
I'm really,
London, Max.
London, yeah.
Yeah, it's
Seven,
one. Yeah,
7
it's
p.m.
7 hours Pacific
I'm
time
really bad
ahead.
at time
Oh,
math.
eight
If you've
hours.
seen any of my
Yeah.
promos, I misjudged it by at least an hour. So there's that. But let's get into it. Hello, everyone. What are y'all
Hello.
drinking?
I have my
Um,
chai latte, oat milk.
Yum.
I have a rooibos tea with oat milk, and it's
Oh,
Save Trans Youth mug. And I also have a prop. This is
oh,
especially for you, Ava.
oh,
It's
oh.
like a crumpet. You can
Thank
tell
you.
it's a prop because I didn't put anything on it.
You really did bring the crumpets. You listen. Thank you so much. I didn't bring any crumpets. I just brought wine.
Fair enough.
And I too have a prop. There is no tea in here because I was very rushed this morning trying to set up my dining room as a studio. So it's just a prop. But I do have my favorite brand of tea right there. So there's
Good.
that.
Yes.
Um, okay. How are y'all doing today?
We're good. Yeah,
Yeah.
excited. The festival starting today. I mean, just started with us. And, we have a first screening in person at the Beacon Cinema at 7:30 p.m. Artist spotlight Simon Hekiruma Ipatu is, a special screening, a kind of a retrospective, 10 years of work, or plus, because actually the earliest film that we're showing, Milan Chaos, is from 2011, and the most recent film is Simon's most recent piece, Arribada, from 2022. I don't know if you've seen Arribada, Max.
No, I haven't.
Yeah,
Oh, I
Please
think
tell
we're
me
both
more.
in
unfortunately.
for a treat.
Unfortunately, it's not going to show online because Simone is still, showing it in different festivals.
Okay.
But eventually, maybe it'll get there to London, and
Yeah,
I'm
that
sure
would
you'll have
be
it.
great.
It's a
That
beautiful,
sounds great.
beautiful film. And yeah, all of our online programs should be up now, available for people to watch. So super excited, super excited. It's here. It started. Translations is
I
here.
this is one of my favorite times of the year because translations, it is a film festival for, by, and about trans people. How amazing is that? Like, this is how far we've come in the world, and yet we still have not come far enough. But neither here nor there. Um, what I also know is, Max, you've got a film in the festival, don't you?
I do. I do. I'm also
Oh,
very excited about the festival starting today.
yeah. Tell us
And
more.
well, yeah, I mean, I was listening to a video that Anto made earlier, and kind of on the topic of, like, the news has been quite heavy lately, and it seems to be something every week, or every month, and that can be pretty tough, and that, like, having a festival like this is a really great way to, like, uplift and soothe ourselves. And, like, I really loved what you said about kinship, because we're all coming together and we're making films, like, they're by us, for us, and it's so important at a time where we really need that. We need to recognize the power that we have when there are kind of bigger structural forces that want to, like, disempower us or make us feel disempowered. So I'm really, really grateful for the festival existing. I think it's beautiful. Thank you for all your hard work, all of the team as well. Yeah, really appreciate it.
A round of applause. I know that's really lame or whatever, but I love it.
Yeah, I makes me really emotional, honestly. To come to this point, we've been working so hard, and you don't see her, but Maddie is here, Maddie Schmidt, and Maddie is a huge part of the festival. And same with all the folks at the office and people who are working and behind scenes. Um, and our volunteers, our interns, our screening committee this year was so beautiful and so powerful, and I just got to meet these wonderful people. Everyone had something to say, something beautiful to contribute, and we really hope that we were able to bring all of this in the festival. I hope they see that, because they really influence how the festival turned out to be, and it's going to be. And yeah, everyone in the jury
Mm,
members, and Max is part of the
dreams.
jury this
Oh, how
year.
exciting! Oh, tell it.
Yeah.
Okay, okay. Now that I've got my teacup out, spill all the tea. Who are you voting for? No, no, who are you voting for? What was the best film of that? And I tell you to nominate my film, even though my film's not in the festival. But let's go. No, I'm kidding.
You can get an honorary mention.
Oh,
Yeah.
I do like an honorary mention. I'm so honorable. But
Yeah. Well, so I was on the narrative short film jury. So I got to watch, I think it was 28 narrative short films. And it was a beautiful process, actually, because I was like, when do I sit down and experience this many trans films, like all in 1 week kind of thing.
what was the
And
theme that you felt emerged from what you were watching? And Anto, feel free to join in this too with the films that you're curating. But yeah, Max, with the films that you were judging, what were some themes that you noticed that emerged?
there was a lot of humorous films, which I loved. Because I think it's funny, because I feel like there's a lot kind of this is more in the past now, but like until recent years, I think there was a lot of films which were really geared towards like illuminating things for cis audiences, let's say, rather than it being like a kind of like for a trans audience. And I feel like the films that I was watching, it was really like people were playing around with ideas and having fun, and it wasn't about like gender 101 or something. It was
Right, it's
like,
like, this is a male and this is a female, and then there's everything else in between. And
yeah.
it's like,
And I think we've seen a lot of films in the past which are grappling with like coming out, and the kind of like dare I say it, before and after periods in our lives. And I think there is a place for those stories, and especially if they're by trans filmmakers. But I think there's also so many other things that we have to share, and gifts that we have to give, and like have our voice infused in films. And I think, to name like an obvious example from the past, though, is like The Matrix, right? So like,
I love that you went there, not somewhere else. And I don't know where else you would have gone, but it was
but it's like, of course, like, it's ultra famous, but like we know it's not got trans characters in it, but it's got like trans all over it. Like I think Lily's quote about it was like, yeah, they weren't writing it going, this is a trans character, this is trans narrative, but you get that infused. And I think we have really powerful and important things to say from our experiences, and that needs to be in more films. And it shouldn't be this kind of like going back to like only like coming out stories or something like that. So I loved the variation in what messages people were saying, what they wanted to say in their films.
Yeah, I couldn't name the programs, because Ava, you asked for the themes of this year. Like, well, actually, this is how we build the programs with the screening committee, is by looking at these themes and seeing what kind of films we were getting. And I'll just read you the titles of the different short programs, for instance.
oh, yes,
So yeah, so we have the shorts programs, Resistance, Resilience, and these were films that that talked about community, actively creating organizations led by trans people and helping the trans community. So, or there is this film from Chile, Océanos Víricos, and that is also a film that's a protest film, a protest performance that is happening, in the ocean, and it's been filmed. And so there was a specific line through this shorts programs, and the description that the screening committee did for this program is true stories of trans people at the forefront of resistance against dominant power structures and the resilience they've built with their communities. So yeah, that's really powerful.
I love that
And
abstract.
yeah, and then it's fuzzy feeling. Fuzzy feeling gathers all these like more comedic films, and yeah, I mean, they're really really fun films, really entertaining. Also films that, like Max said, it's beyond the coming out story. It's more about, like what it means to be in the world, and that's it. And like all these people in the world, and they're just really fun to watch. And we have this other shorts program called The Ties That Bond. I'll read you the description. The shorts capture a variety of relationships and how they shift over time throughout moments of discovery, transition, love, and growth, and are dedicated to the bonds that bring us closer to our heritage, our communities, and ourselves. So these are connections that we build with each other. I'll read you one more. Empowerment. Trans Power Now. Watch as the narratives and documentaries showcase individual and community empowerment. Um, oh, and then I'll read the one that Max is in. It's
Oh.
called Sexual Healing, 18 plus. Experience these powerful films that delve into the diverse ways we discover and embrace our trans bodies and desires.
Okay, now I've got a lot of notes on everything. Mainly, I tried watching Max your film while walking with my partner, and I was not paying attention. So then I just looked down, and was like, "Oh God, look at that!"
I love that it switched. Your voice switched to the English accent, like.
But what I loved are the themes that you all did mention. Max, especially mentioning humor and transjoy and getting past the first and second wave of trans filmmaking to now we can make stuff for and about us. And then Anto, what you're mentioning of resistance and resilience and community and empowerment. And there are so many avenues to go with. So we are going to play pick one. We are going to play pick one or two, and they're different topics. And I don't know which one is which, but we're going to go with it.
Let's go with Max.
Easty White.
Let's go with Max's film.
I can't remember all the options, but I heard empowerment. So like
Empowerment.
maybe I'll with that.
Okay.
Well, I think they're all interrelated: trans joy, empowerment, and also resistance. My favorite hashtag as of late is trans joy is resistance, and being joyful and being happy
Yeah.
in spite of the world around us. Crazy. But specifically, Max, your film and sexual fulfillment, sexual healing in these trans bodies. And I want to dive into your film, and not just your film, but also personally. And where I'm coming from is I remember starting to transition, and it was like I felt so disconnected from my body. Like it's changing. I don't feel connected to it sexually. And then I took part in a burlesque type show, and it was like, oh my God, I feel so much more connected to my body and sexually empowered. And now I'm wondering how that relates to your film and what you explore in that, and just talking about your film in general, really.
Mm-hmm. Well, thanks for sharing about your story, because that's really beautiful, and I that resonates with me on a level, because I feel like making erotic work, it does help with like connecting, And I think there's a lot of healing that can take place in that space, which is a very apt name for the program. Because also there aren't many images out there of our bodies in a sexual context on our terms. As you can imagine, within like the adult industry where people are like monetizing videos, there's certain audiences, right? So there's only certain content that gets made because it's just a reflection of society, right? I think
Right.
people are always blaming adult content, saying it's responsible for things, but actually it's the other way around. And then in
Yeah.
conversation with,
Yeah.
So it's kind of like there's a huge like there's just like a huge gap really of like seeing trans bodies in like an erotic context on film and made by trans people. So that process has just helped me a lot because it's a space to play. I think that's a really important element for me with it, is like the playfulness of making these films. And with Ruptured, we were flipping the tropes of the horror genre and looking at how people of color are portrayed as characters within the horror genre, and then flipping all of that and sort of playing around with the ideas of decolonizing desire as well.
Oh, okay. Oh God,
Which is a big topic.
No, it's taking
Wow.
me in so many different directions because we're talking about erotica and horror and dealing so much with the subconscious and tackling that through art. And I used to have the worst view of horror of it's scary. For lack of better words, horror is scary. But then after making one, I realized it's a great place for marginalized communities to explore those fears in context. And so the fact that you're taking horror and you're taking erotica and working with them in this way, it's just absolutely fascinating to delve into what's living in trans psyche, I guess.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Yeah,
but there's really not much on that.
I think it's very queer to like mess around with genre as well,
Yes.
how it's always been
Yes.
made, but we're gonna make it a different way. And it
Gender
was
bending and
really
genre bending.
and yeah, it was just a fun project because I made it during the Berlin Porn Film Festival, and like a lot of filmmakers and performers gather there during that time, and they'll fly in from like America, they'll fly in from someone used to fly in from Australia, so you get all these people like in one place. There's obviously lots of people from European countries going as well, and then everyone's there to watch films but also to make them because everyone's in one place, right? So it's like the ideal
Why
condition.
not?
Yeah, it's like ideal conditions are also like the worst conditions because you're like, oh, I just want to go and see this film, and like then your performer's like, oh yeah, I'm going to see a film later. I can't like come to a shoot or something, and you're like, okay, how do we gather everyone together? But somehow we managed to pull it off. But we literally, this had like the shortest pre-production time I've like probably ever worked on a film, because I think it was 4 days from like coming up with the idea. And
Amazing.
it just kind of shows the power of like when you do come together with other people who are as dedicated and want to make something, like things can kind of like just work in the moment.
Yeah.
Whereas a lot of film production, I mean, it takes ages to get things off the ground. And you're trying to find the people to work with. I guess that was like the advantage of being at the festival. But yeah, we just had a brunch and it was all like it was like people of color in porn basically, and it was just like we had a brunch and talked about ideas and wanting to shoot something, and that's when it came up.
Oh my God. I'm
Yeah.
not gonna lie, I am a bit amazingly overwhelmed. Anto, jump in here just a little bit.
Yeah, I actually I got to know the work of Max when my film showed at Hot Bits. And
Say
Hot
more. What is
Bits,
Hot Bits?
Hot Bits. A shout out to the people of Hot Bits. They're a film festival, and it's all BIPOC, safe space, and it's all BIPOC filmmakers. And it's a body positive film festival. And so, I had just recently made a film that, it was kind of like the start of my transitioning, and it had a lot to do with my own body. It's a film that I film myself. It's just me in a a dark room with a spotlight, and I'm, you know, in front of the camera, and it's shot on 16 mm. So I had to like stop, you know, it shoots every 30 seconds, so I have to like stop, click, you know, rewind the film, click, perform, stop, rewind the film, click, perform. So I did that for a while, and then, you know, that I felt really like that was the only place I could show that film, because you talked about that, Ava, and like the relationship to the body when you're transitioning or when you're starting to, and you know, it was very, very specific, and I felt that the film was really intimate, and so it felt like the only place I could show the film was Hot Bits. And they were doing it, they tour, so they're based in Baltimore, but they also go to different cities. So at the time they were in Boston where I showed the film. And in that evening of, you know, festival, also people coming from different places, beautiful festival with also with vendors and people who are like, you know, in the community, and you know, it's also more of an erotic film festival, so like also, you know, brings that community, that um of workers and people who are like in that industry as well. So it's like it's a and they show performances as well, and so it's just such a beautiful event. And that's where I saw one of Max's work, and I started following Max, and then, you know, I started following you on Instagram. And yeah, and I watched your film Raptor, and I was like, I really need to show this film. There's a, one way I can have Max, and you know, when I was invited to be in the festival, I was like, I need to have Max in the festival somehow. We need to have a program or something. And I reached out to you, and you took forever to respond. This almost didn't happen. And I was like,
I'm glad I
okay, you know.
got around to respond to it. Yeah, it's been a real pleasure.
I almost gave up. I mean, I have to say I gave up at a certain point. I was like, yeah, maybe Max is too busy, because you were working on your new film.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I was like,
was
but
super-
I was so happy when you responded. Like that day, you made my day, and because
Aw.
yeah.
Thank you. Well, it's, you know, like it's been a real pleasure being part of the festival. I'm so glad that I did get back to you and that things worked out. But yeah, I think you're right. I was working on my new film. So
I am glad that you got back, because I am really excited to get to chat with you. When I read, when Maddie sent me who I was going to be chatting with on Tea Time, and I saw your name, and I started researching you, and I was like, oh my God, look, this is amazing. And I get to chat with him. Oh my God. Oh, we've got a comment. I'm so excited. From Ryan Ross. Didn't know it was possible, but this is all making me even more excited for this weekend. Yay! And there's a celebration emoji. Oh, I'm excited.
Thank you.
Okay, so we delved into how the horror and the erotica kind of commingle together. Let's talk a little bit about trans joy being resistance, and how you how do you speak to your artwork to that? It's a very broad question, I know. So take a minute for it to digest.
Yeah.
Sometimes I just like to take a sip and be like, well, you know, that's a very interesting question. And so in conclusion, thank you. I'm known very much for my non-answer answer.
I think, well, basically, with my new film, Dismantle Me, it's a narrative piece. It's a dark comedy romance. And I think it's really important, first of all, that we see more trans romances on screen.
Yes.
As someone who's trying to make a feature film rom-com about a trans person, written and starring and being produced by me, I agree 100%. So
yeah. Yeah, like I think, you know, there's a big gap, right? And it's usually absent, and it's usually a lot of the time it's also a trans person who's either desiring or being desired by a cis person, and then
Yeah.
that's coming with the complications of like rejection of some form or even violence, and that's not really the films I want to sit down and watch and enjoy, to be honest.
Well, the world's been so traumatic lately. Why would I want to watch more trauma? And as a trans person of color, and the amount of trauma directed at our bodies, why?
What did you think, Max, about some of the films in the sexual healing program that?
So I watched probably like 4 from that program, I think, right?
Okay.
I was actually thinking though of the romance that's called Going Away as well. Like that kind of came to mind because in that film, maybe Anto, you remember the names of the filmmakers, but there's a story and there's like the trans woman character, like she's leaving a flat and then oh no wait, I shouldn't do any spoilers. Okay,
it's Morgan Sullivan. I'll give you the names of Morgan Sullivan and Noah Scammers.
Yes, Morgan Sullivan. Yeah, so that was sweet. I wanted more though. I felt like that felt like the beginning episode of something longer. But yeah, the sexual healing.
Shorts leave you wanting more.
Yeah, that's a good sign. You know, then you kind of hooked your audience, right? The sexual healing films. I mean, I enjoyed all of them, to be honest. But so Ramsey's film Pan Dolce, like love that. It's beautiful. It's very sweet. It's also funny and playful. So that was a really great film. It's to I believe transmasculine people engaging in some fun at breakfast and before breakfast.
Wait, are we talking about fun or are we talking about fun?
Sexy fun. Like whichever fun that was. Yeah.
I love fun.
And yeah, it was just shot really beautifully as well. And I know the cinematographer is also trans, so it was kind of like, you know, I think, you know, I do have that belief that like whoever's working behind the camera as well, it's like really important. And that's also what I was doing with my latest film, having a majority trans and non-binary team. So
yeah, we recently shot a film where I'm acting, directing, I wrote and produced.
When do we get to see it?
We're gonna get to see it. We're still in the post-production side of things, and I know
you're not like editing it as well, are you?
No, I'm trying not to.
It's a good idea.
We're raising funds for it to be able to, you know, have someone edit it and finish it. And the importance of having someone who's also trans be the DP or be in camera, it's like I thought that was super key, and it made a big difference. I've been in other films where folks are not from, you know, trans experience, and it's difficult. It really feels, you know, it feels really hard to perform for someone that doesn't understand you.
Let's unpack that just a little bit as filmmakers, as performers, of the having trans representation and people on set and how that feels and why that's important. Because I feel like perhaps the average person may not get it, but why is it in storytelling and in pre-production, in being on set, is it important to have trans bodies part of the process?
Anto, did you want to go?
Yeah, I'll just, you know, continue talking about that film set, because we did the co-writer, co-director, co-producer of the film, Kelly Vandilla, is also of trans experience, and they wanted, you know, we all wanted to have a full trans non-binary cast and crew, mostly crew, because I was working with some people, friends who you know, this Chilean artist who, you know, I really admire, has really helped me integrate in the community in New York with other Chileans immigrants that are there. But the crew was super key for us and so we did reach out to the community, and what happened was very different from everything that I've experienced in bigger sets, because we were listening to each other. We were there for each other. We constantly did checkups with people. We would stop and see, okay, is everyone okay? Does everyone need anything? And I feel like everyone was super respectful and loving and kind, and I don't know, it just made the whole experience so much better. And it's I think I tell this to filmmakers, trans filmmakers, it's totally worth it to try. I know that it can be very hard in the industry. I'm not part of the big industry. I'm more of an independent filmmaker, but I know that the bigger industry is really tough, and it can be really aggressive. And I feel like a way to change that, to change this old ways to make films, is to create your own environments, your own film sets.
Yes, very much so.
Agreed. Yeah.
And Max, your experience with having a trans non-binary crew, how was that, and why was that important?
Well, it was incredibly important to the film. So I went in intentionally knowing that was our decision. And we knew that it might be quite difficult because in the UK, we already knew like kind of a number of people in the film industry. And we were kind of like, okay, these roles might be a bit hard to like fill, but we're going to do our best to try and find people. And so we kind of set out, and we were thinking of like Sam Fetter's Disclosure. We were thinking of Chase Joint's films where they've worked with a majority trans and non-binary crew very intentionally. And we were thinking of that model, and like when they couldn't find someone for a position, they had a cis person, but like a trans or non-binary person shadowing that person. So we were like, okay, that's kind of the model that we'll adopt as well. So one of the advantages was we worked with Trans on Screen, which is a relatively new directory of trans non-binary professionals in film and TV. And it's international. It was started in the UK by Alice Blanc, and basically they founded it and they set it up, and we have a website, and you can go on and see profiles of filmmakers. Thank you. There we go. We have the link at the bottom, and we are looking for more people to join. So if you would like to have a profile on there, it's really great, because essentially the idea behind it is to have a place where production companies or producers or anyone looking for film crew or cast can go and find trans non-binary people for their films or TV productions. And it's been, consistently, steadily growing. And we have people like, it's not just UK people, it's people like everywhere. So yeah, it's a brilliant resource, and already it's having like this kind of chain reaction effect of like people work with some people from the directory, and then everyone starts connecting, right? Like on our film, we worked with a lot of people who are on the directory, and if they weren't, then they were afterwards. Right. So we like recruited them. And then a lot of those people went on to other productions and worked together. And, like when someone goes, oh, like I need a sound recordist, or I need like a set dresser, and then people know someone. So it's just like connecting and like building a network, right? So the more it grows, the better it'll be, because then like you've always got this resource to use to find people to work with. Yeah, and we have some other plans in the works as well, because one of the things we're recognizing is there is some roles where we couldn't really find anyone to like have on the directory, and it's quite clear to us that there's like maybe less training, or that role might be something that's harder to get into because it's more like cis men who are in those environments, who are like kind of gatekeeping or being a bit like, it's maybe a bit hostile for someone who's trans, especially if it's not like, I hate to use it, but passing. So, we'll kind of have that recognition, So we're looking into also ideas for developing talent, because we know that's something important.
That's so. Oh, I love everything you've said.
But like, yeah, like please
I-
join. Like there's a
yeah, I'm gonna tell my whole crew to join. We're gonna all join.
And
yeah.
we have a question from the comments,
Okay.
talking, I guess, specifically about this idea. So Ryan Rocks from YouTube, it looks like. Are there any networks or resources for connecting with trans and non-binary film crew all over the US and world? So I guess the question really is, does trans on screen, is it worldwide?
It is, yeah.
Yay.
So we do, we have like, of course, the majority of people on there at the moment are like UK and London, but we do have international people on there. So I believe we do have some people in the US. I think there are some Canadian people on the website. I've got to check that though, because I hear about stuff in the background, but I'm not sure if the profiles are there and stuff yet. But
Well,
yeah,
I know
so
that I'm going to go join it right after we finish,
it's
really.
fine. Yeah. I
Yeah.
think everyone, because the more people join as well, then people obviously word of mouth, it helps spread it to other people. So, you know, we're also going to do a bit more promo this year. Like when it launched, it was really great because we did an event with the BFI, the Trans Film Pitch. So that was kind of already building some publicity. And now I think we kind of just like the more that we spread the words, the faster it will grow.
I love that. So I'm going to go join and spread the word. And we're going to wrap up just a little bit. But before we have Anto tell us about what people can expect at the festival today, let's play a very little quick round of my Duchess game. That's just what we're going to call it. Okay, so the rules of the game are simple. I give you two choices and you just do a quick either or. For example, tea or coffee? Anto, you'll go first.
Tea.
Max?
Ooh, both.
Okay.
But it depends what tea, because I like a lot of herbal teas, but I also love coffee.
Okay. Mountain or beach?
So hard.
Isn't it though? Quick, whatever comes to mind.
Mountain.
Beach.
Okay. Let's see. Oh, okay, here we go. New York or London?
New York.
Oh. See, I went to New York when I was like 15, so I feel like I don't have a good like idea of what it's like now.
That's fair.
I'm gonna be controversial and say neither.
Love it. I'm here for all of the answers because none of them follow the rules and we're rule breakers.
I do want to go to Body Hack though. So
yes, we need to.
After the show,
that would be so cool.
What that is.
Yeah.
Night or day?
Ava, you have to come to Body Hack too.
Oh, I want to. I don't even know what it is. I want to be there. Night or day?
Night.
Okay. Both of y'all were very quick to say that night. And then we're just going to make this very short. But if you could pick any place in the world, anywhere, where would it be?
Right now I'm thinking of Chiloé, the south of Chile.
Okay. Max?
My imagination.
Imagination. And I feel like you know where I'm going with this one. But I'm going to give you several choices, really. Hopefully you can remember them all, and hopefully I can. But you're going to choose one. So, barony, march, county, duchy, principality, or queerdom. I feel like I'm
queer.
I'm priming the pump, so to speak, but I hate saying kingdom, queendom when I'm a bit queerdom.
I love queerdom.
Yeah.
Okay, so therefore, I dub you both regents of the queerdom of the south of Chile and your imagination.
Wonderful.
And I'm going to stamp it and make it official.
Beautiful, yeah.
Thank you.
Oh, Stormy Gal is late, but he's like we all look amazing.
Storm Miguel.
Hi, Storm.
Hello,
Storm Miguel. Thank you so much for coming.
All right, we're going to close out, but Anto, tell us very briefly what people should look forward to tonight.
Yes. So today, and you can go to the website and check the schedule for every day. So $3billcinema.org/translations, and you just go through our menu, and you'll find the schedule at the bottom. And yes, for tonight, as I mentioned, in person at 7:30 p.m., we're having artist spotlight. Simon Kakiruma at the Beacon Cinema in Columbia City, Seattle. And we have the online program all day, so you can watch films all day and night.
Just watch it 24/7 until the festival ends. Please don't stop,
Yes.
because trans stories are important and fun and apparently humorous this year. So I love it. I love it all. Thank you both so much for joining moi for tea time. It really was a pleasure talking to you both.
Thank you for
Same.
having me.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, it's been
And
wonderful.
with that, I guess we are going to make our exit because Maddie said we had to be done. We don't want to end, but we must. So from everyone here at Translations, we are saying goodbye. Oh, she sent us an emoji of some sort. Don't say what it is on air, but I will just keep vamping until we go off air.